Well, good morning, boys and girls, bullet launchers, and firearms fans worldwide. It's Bob, and boy, it's early. I started down here at quarter after 4 this morning. Yeah, you got something on your mind, you can't sleep. So, anyhow, I wanted to finish putting together uh, the prototype stock for the Colt 607 carbine. And this is the prototype. It's not finished. Now, before you start writing things in comments, I want you to see that for now, I don't have the T-handle switch, and I don't have the proper butt plate attached. Um, and let me see here. I think that's about all that isn't right. Oh, of course, we've done the obligatory pinning over here to pin the adjusting rod in place. But this is the prototype. When I have some milling machine time and I'm a little bored, yeah, that's going to happen. Uh, we will replace the switch. As you can see, we've got it marked a little different than what Colt did. The thing is, we don't have a TDP on this. All I know is that the overall length from here to here is 2.7 inches shorter than the A1 stock, not the A2, the A1. And I used the 603 here, 603 stock cut down. That hurt my soul a little bit, cutting down a relic that's probably 60 years old, but I had to do it. We got that fitted, and we made up the rod and the tube that do the adjusting up in here. I believe I have the LNO reversed, but that was my choice. I want the lock to be rotated to the right tight, and left open. And there it is. There's the 2.7 inches. There's one thing I did here that Colt didn't do. And who was the guy? Actually, the guy who has the patent on this. There's a patent on this. I put the adjusting track out in the open a little bit. I moved it down about 1.25 inches or so. And the reason is everything on the AR platform is cleanable. You can get into the fire control group. You can take apart the bolt carrier group and clean it. I don't know, the sights, everything you can get into. You could flush with cleaning fluid and lubricate them and everything. I said, why should this track in here, which contains there's a cam pin that rides through here, and of course that's the locked closed position, like that. Why should that not be cleanable? Ultimately, junk up in here is going to get inside there. Particularly in view of the fact that these stocks are a fiberglass shell with foam inside, and that foam just wants to fall apart and go down there. I'll show you in a minute. But that's what we did with that. Now, let me show you the parts. Try to find a buffer tube that doesn't have the rib on it, like for an XM177E2. It has the rib on the bottom for the adjusting positions, either 2, 5, 4, 6, whatever they are. You got to buy, if you're going to build one of these, you got to buy a buffer tube for a rifle. And then guess what? You cut off that magic 2.7 inches. Yep. Also, you got to take the old 60-year-old A2 stock and slice off, again, 2.7 inches. Now, these are amazing how they are made. Let me just show you the inside. What they did is they made a shell here. They put it in a very thin plastic tube, and then they foam filled it. This stuff you just chip out with your finger. On the back, what they did was and I know I've been around injection molding before, they ended the tube with a flat plane here and went down into a mold that was above ground a little bit. Maybe they located from the sling pin, or maybe they had some upright pins holding it here. I don't know. And then they injected rubber, hard natural rubber. This stuff is very tenacious. It's actually vulcanized right to the fiberglass. It's really on there. I got most of that off. Here's what's left of the original A1 butt pad. And that's what you see here on the finished guy. Of course, it was longer because as this was extended, the heel to toe, the toe to heel dimension was much greater. But that's where these two pads came from. I just cut them down and stuck them on there. What I'm going to do now is take this thing apart and show you how I did it. Again, this will be a reasonable representation of what the 607 was. I don't think anybody has one to take it apart and copy it. We don't have the TDP. All we have is the photographs. And who is it? Mike R. that used to make them. I don't know what happened to Mike R. I wish he was still around. And another company that makes them using the buffer plate as an anchor point instead of the actual receiver. They have them swaged into the buffer plate. Probably see those online. So, all right, let me do that. Let me take this apart and I'll show you all the constituent components and where we're going to go from here. Okay? Hang on. All right, we're back. And here's this thing all apart. There's the control rod, if you will, the cut down tube. What I did was, after I cut down the buffer tube, this is going to have a carbine spring and buffer in it. I pinned, and you can just barely see these brass pins in 4 places, an aluminum plug into the back here to take up the energy from the recoil action. That works. I've tested it with a heavy piece of rod and a hammer, and that's not going to come out. This is the high carbon steel rod. I did the opposite of what I've seen on the Colts, where they had the rod in the receiver and the tube sliding. And it seemed to me that for strength and durability, I'd rather have the handle, the switch out here on the solid rod, and have the tube as the sliding portion. But what, you know, and of course the track for the 2.7-inch travel. Now, what I did was, because you've got this butt plate that's going to want to move here, you've got to keep it down to 2.7 on the nut, or you're going to have play in it. So when you have it closed, there's going to be a little bit of wiggle wobble, or when it's open, there's going to be some slop. So I put a pin in here at some point where it's back from the inside of the butt plate, some arbitrary number, just to get it away from the plate, and the notch where the switch goes, and I put a spacer on it. And I just cut the spacer to fit. That eventually goes onto here, and if you could see, will provide you enough extension to put the switch on. But it also means when this is screwed solid to here, there's not going to be any play or tolerance, either extended or collapsed. And these are the various screws that I use to hold the the butt plate to the stock. And by the way, this is the original. Get a light on it. Here's the original screw hole for that. I'm using a Type B sheet metal screw, which bites very well. That's biting into the fiberglass. These two holes, which correspond to these two holes here to hold the butt plate against the stock, these are wall anchors. These are nylon wall anchors that have been epoxied here. I didn't know how else to make the plate secure and survive a lot of stress without doing it. This is a real solid lockup. Now, when everything's screwed down, those 3 screws. Obviously, you're not going to use the original buffer tube lock, buttstock screw hole, because you're sliding away from it. So there you are. It's been more hours than I expected, and when I sit down, I start to carve out the little T-handle for the switch here, and possibly pry these things off and make one that looks like the 607. Again, these are going to be wall hangers at a quasi-museum. It's not really a museum. It's kind of a collective hobbyist show place, but they're going to be on the wall. They're going to be used for classroom and informal demos to show all these various AR platforms that the government adopted, and some that were just prototypes that never made it. I've got a 605 hanging around here somewhere that is part of that. Oh, it's in the corner. And that'll be part of the display. There's a genuine copy of 605. The wrong thing is I've got a brass deflector. I probably have to mill that off. You could have had these with or without forward assist, depending on what Colt was doing at the time. But there's the 605. Much easier to build than the 607. But it's a labor of love. A lot of hours down here in the shop on my off time. And like I said, when I have time, I'm going to put a T-handle on here and maybe try to emulate what they did. The wall hangers, they're going to be fired. They're going to go out to the range. But like I said, they're mostly for the newbies. Here's what an A1 looks like, and an A4, and an A2, and a 177E2. And oh, by the way, I carried a 603 in Vietnam. Here's a 605 and a 607, but they never made it. Actually, the next thing to be adopted was the A2 in the 80s. But in 67 and 68, I was lugging around an XM16E1, same A1, and got to love that gun until I was handed a 177E2, and then I fell in love all over again. But I'll tell you that story another time. Anyhow, take care all. If you like this, share, thumbs up, whatever. Please be gentle with the comments. We're just building show and tell prototypes here. These are not clone copies. We just want to show what boys were up to back then, 50, 60 years ago. And it's a demo thing. So like, join, share, whatever. Sign up. Stay safe. And by all means, gang, stay perfect, huh?